Turn 1 Soul Ring.
Perfect.
Well, that worked.
Nice.
I clicked it.
Yep. It works.
I clicked it. It's recording. Things are going fine.
I've been watching a lot of Pleasant Kenobi's content recently, and on one of his on one of like at one part of one of his episodes, it might have been the intro episodes, one of his videos, he talked about how Mark Rosewater wrote 2 episodes of Roseanne back when Roseanne was first on the air, and I think this was even before he worked for Wizards of the Coast. So
seriously,
yeah, apparently. So like, if you're ever feeling like Mark Rosewater isn't doing a very good job with, you know, what his designing Magic cards, just, you know, like, he made a much bigger mistake writing a couple episodes of Roseanne. I'd love to go and find those episodes and watch them, because I actually watched Roseanne when it was, I think it was in syndication at the time, but I did like watch probably the entire series, and it's just garbage. So
Classic.
But if you want to go watch Roseanne, it's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm good, though. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
You know, we have an Amazon Prime account, but like, they run advertisements before each show, just about like shows on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
and it drives me nuts.
You can skip them though.
Can you actually skip them?
You can skip them as soon as they start. Yeah, there's no like 5 seconds. You can just skip them, and they don't do it every time. But there's a really good Ted Bundy documentary on Amazon Prime, and there's a bunch of other good stuff as well. They do have some pretty good true crime stuff if you're into that, but they also have all kinds of good stuff. I actually watched Terminator Genesis this morning, which is a bad movie, but it's a lot of fun, because they just take everything that has happened in the previous Terminator movies, and they're just like, nope, didn't happen because it's time travel. So, but it's fun. It's
but at least if you enjoyed it.
Oh, I had a great time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't take it too seriously anymore.
Yeah, no. I think that's the real key. Just don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, I agree. So have you guys been playing a lot of Magic on Arena or MTGO, or Riley, have you been playing Chandelar at all?
Oh, no, I should be, though. This is the perfect time to play Chandelar. No, I played a little bit of Arena here and there. I tried doing one of those F&Ms on Arena. I still haven't heard back from my local game store. Like, I sent them the screenshot and everything, and they said they were on board with doing it, but I sent them a screenshot and they haven't said anything. So I don't know if I'm getting any card sleeves or not.
Well, they're probably still figuring out how to run their online store.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you're scrambling to figure out an online store during a pandemic, it's probably not the best time and place to be doing that.
It's tough times, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough times.
Yeah, I did one of the cubes on Arena.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah? How was that?
The best of one Magic is not Magic.
That's fair.
I agree.
It's, the fact they did it as a sealed, like, I know why they did it as a sealed this time around, because they don't have in-person drafts yet, but I don't know. I think the fun of Cube is the drafting aspect. Like, it's just building those powerful archetypes.
Oh, yeah, it's really fun to draft a cube, and it's like, this is just sealed. So you're like, oh, here's a pile of cards. I threw something together, but again, I was just like, I just didn't want to play another one. Yeah.
That's too bad. It's a sad time for Magic.
A little bit.
Yeah, you guys could just play MTGO. What are you talking about? You can just do all the fun stuff on there.
Yeah, I should dust off my MTGO account. I haven't played it in years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really should. I did, like, when all this stuff started up, they did do 2 weeks of Vintage Cube. So I got in a couple of Vintage Cubes, and that was fun.
Yeah, you were telling us about that.
I got to channel for Ulamog on turn 1.
Nice.
Turn 2? No, it's turn 2.
That'll do it. Well, I guess we should start the show. I kind of forgot to introduce us, but this is Turn 1 Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
You're Riley, that's right. And today on the show, we're going to be covering some of our favorite new cards from the upcoming Ikoria Lair of Behemoths standard set, as well as the set's new and returning mechanics. I really can't say Behemoths without wanting to give it that kind of twang.
That we do.
Yeah, I even did it there a little bit. But before we get to the cards, though, Eric, how can listeners get in touch with us?
Well, listeners can definitely find us at Turn One Soul Ring the podcast on Instagram. You can find us at Turn One Soul Ring the podcast at gmail.com. You can message us directly, let us know what's going on, ask us questions. We're there to talk. And you can also find us on YouTube by searching Turn One Soul Ring the podcast, and make sure to type the podcast.
You're gonna want to type the podcast.
That's how you find us.
If you want to find us, right?
Yeah.
You might not want to find us. And we're on all the podcast platforms, wherever you like to listen. Spotify's getting pretty hot right now, so you might want to listen there. Before we get to the cards, I forgot to mention this. We should talk about the new and returning mechanics in Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. So,
yeah, we should.
We should. So first up, we have Mutate. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but I have heard a lot of content creators and other Magic personalities talk about how the community is saying, or a majority of the community is saying, that this is a complicated mechanic. And there were some things that I had to look up to specify specifically how it worked, but that's not the way that I would describe it, that it's complicated. But basically the way it works is, I'll just read the Oracle text. If you cast this spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top plus all abilities from under. So something kind of interesting about mutate is that if you have a creature that gets tucked into your deck when it dies, all the creatures that have been mutated onto that creature will tuck with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like considered a single object.
It is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's considered. Yeah. And so, if you have like a Murderous Rider that you've mutated creatures onto, or one of the gods from War of the Spark, it will go into, the bottom or the third from the top, respectively, when it dies.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And
do you get to choose the order if that happens?
I don't know about how that works, and it would matter a lot more with with the gods from War of the Spark. But also, if you were using like a Grenzo deck with Murderous Rider and you're putting that back on the bottom of your library, then you want to, the order would matter more in that scenario.
Yeah. And another interesting one that I heard about was how it interacts with Morph. Like, if you have a morphed creature and you want to put it over or under, like, are you still able to morph that creature? Like, what happens after that? So
I never thought of morph.
I haven't seen the comprehensive rules yet, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and it's also the same story with like a blink or an exile effect. So normally, if let's say, for example, a creature had a bunch of auras on it and you exiled it for any amount of time and brought it back, those auras when it was initially exiled, those auras would have gone to the graveyard. But with Mutate, because it's considered a single creature, all the mutated creatures that are sort of attached to it, even though that's a confusing way to put it, would remain in exile with it and would come back with it when it came back onto the battlefield.
Do they come back as one, or do they come back as themselves, like individually?
I believe they come back as one, because it leaves as a single creature and it stays a single creature and it comes back as a single creature.
Brucella.
Voice of Nightmares.
Yeah, if you blink that, they come back
unmelded,
unattached, unmelded. I guess they are a flip creature as well.
Yeah, melds works differently.
Yeah, but I know it also, Mutate also works with Undying, like the trigger ability Undying. When they go to the graveyard, they come back with +1/+1 counter on him. But it'll actually go to the graveyard as one creature and come back as each individual creature, each with another +1/+1 counter on them.
Oh, well, maybe I got the exile blink thing wrong. I did look into it, but it's possible. I mean, if it's going to the graveyard, if it's leaving the battlefield in that way, you'd think it would have the same effect coming back.
Yeah, and this is probably exactly why people are confused by the mechanic. It's because there's so many edge case scenarios where you're not quite sure what happens.
Yeah, I think a better way to put it is that the mechanic maybe is not intuitive, and as opposed to being confusing. It's just, I think it's kind of dismissive to say that something is confusing, because then you're immediately creating a barrier for yourself. But yeah, I don't think it's confusing. I think it's just not very intuitive.
Yeah, I think at its base, like putting a creature over or under is pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
but definitely these specific scenarios with all these different mechanics from Magic's history kind of throw a wrench into things.
But it's also not the first time a mechanic has done something like that either.
Of
So.
course, yeah. I was looking at Mutate when it was first revealed, and I was thinking, does this circumvent commander tax? But unfortunately, it doesn't, because it's just an alternate cost, not an ability like the Derevi. That's the one that yeah. So that's it in my mind it became a lot less powerful when I found that out. So let's move on to the next new mechanic. We have Companion. So this is a fun one. And probably confusing. If this card is your chosen companion, you may cast it once from outside the game. So in every other format other than Commander, this would mean that you're casting it from your sideboard. But in Commander, you'll be allowed to cast a card with Companion from your companion zone, we'll call it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just outside the game.
Outside the game, yeah. But not your sideboard, because we don't have sideboards in Commander.
Yeah.
So now you can have a commander deck that is 101 cards.
Or 102 cards, or whatever.
Yeah, how many companions did they make? Like 8?
Yeah, they made a bunch. They made one for at least all the... did they make 8 or did they make 10?
Maybe 10. I haven't looked at the numbers exactly.
I don't know if they did one for every color pair.
I'd like to build a deck and see how many companion restrictions I can meet.
Yeah, I was kind of... After you said that, I started to look into that and like looking for a commander that I could build around. But you're probably...
They're 10.
There you go.
Yeah, so...
well, one's banned.
Yes, one's banned. We can't use the as it one. And assuming your deck meets the companion's the card's deck building restrictions, then it can be your companion. But of course, you can always put this card into the 99, or these are all legendary creatures, so they can be your commander as well.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to meet that restriction.
No, not at all. We also have counters coming back, but there's sort of a new spin on them where they have keyword effects, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think overall I'm a fan of being able to add an ability in the form of a counter. I think it's just going to get confusing. You're going to need all these different ways of indicating what's what, because there's some creatures that give other creatures a counter to give it an ability. So usually, like if there's something that indicates, put a charge counter on this card, you put like a 6-sided die on it, and it's like that's a charge counter. But if you're giving somebody else like Death Touch, then what are you using? I guess they've released those punch-out cards, but, I mean, who's going to actually carry around a bunch of punch-out cards to use as counters?
I mean, if you're going to be playing with these cards, you maybe need to.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
I've seen some people make, 3D printed objects for, flying counters, little boots with wings on them. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, you could always go to a thrift store and open up all the board games and take, open all the copies of Monopoly and take all the different pieces and use those as counters. You're probably going to have to steal them, because if you take them to the counter and say, hey, I took all these pieces out of the Monopolies, how much do you want for them? They're probably going to ask you to leave.
They're free.
It's got a little top hat. You're like, this is my Death Touch counter.
Yeah, I kind of feel silly now that you guys mentioned this, because I honestly hadn't thought about the complex nature of all these different counters on the battlefield until just now. And I kind of feel silly all the times I made fun of people at game stores who had all those little color-coded glass beads. There's always one of those.
Glass beads are coming back.
They're coming back, right? I guess. Yeah, I guess I'm eating all those insults now. So yes, it's so far this is a pretty confusing set, and we haven't even gotten to any of the cards. So last here, returning mechanic, and certainly not least, is cycling. Cycling is back, and I love cycling.
Oh yeah,
I love cycling.
Yeah, cycling's great.
And it just takes a card that is maybe not quite playable, especially in limited, and it makes it playable.
Yeah, it just gives you something to do at many different stages of the game on a single card.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's already a couple of cards that are essentially functional reprints, but they have cycling, which makes them better in this set. So it's sort of just pushing the previous cards, like Migration's Path is a better explosive vegetation.
Yeah.
because it has cycle.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Huge.
Huge.
That's a good
Huge there.
Trump huge. All right, guys. Well, let's get to the cards. We're going to go through them in Wooburg order, as always, and then we'll do the gold and the colorless and lands cards. So we're going to start with white, as usual, and I will take it away with Dranith Magistrate. It's a 1 and a white for a human wizard 1/3. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So this pretty much goes in every white commander deck because it stops your opponents from being able to cast their commander.
Yeah, this thing is great. Just shuts everything down.
Yeah.
Shuts on commander.
And I was thinking, like, I put in our last commander league, I put Nevermore into my deck so I could stop Riley from casting Kadena, even though he ended up getting way more points by casting Kadena multiple times. But I was trying to stop that too, I guess. And this just does it, but for everybody. Not to mention shutting down all kinds of other strategies. So this is great. Like, this is probably going to see a lot of play in CEDH decks as well.
Sure. Yeah.
I could definitely see that pop up.
Because this totally shuts down. Oh no, is it cast? He says cast.
Yeah, it's cast.
Okay, so this wouldn't shut down like Yisan because you're not casting the cards; you're putting them onto the battlefield.
That is correct.
Okay, Yisan's safe. I'm happy.
But of course, if you have an opponent like casting spells from their graveyard, or if you have like another card like Bolas' Citadel and you're casting cards atop the library, like Dranith Magistrate will shut all that stuff off too.
Yeah, it's pretty good for 1 and a white. Can't go wrong.
Yep.
Okay, moving on, babies.
All right, Eric, you want to take this one?
Oh yeah, we didn't decide turn order. We should have rolled.
We should have.
I would have cheated and said
I rolled a 6, guys.
Yeah. Okay, we can't all roll a 6.
All right, so our second card today is the Luminous Broodmoth. So this is 2 of anything and 2 white for a 3/4 flyer. And whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it.
So obviously you could do all kinds of silly things with like Solemnity and a sack outlet because it doesn't get the flying counter and it would just keep coming back. Infinite mana for starters with one of the Ashnod's of Phyrexian Altar. But in the absence of that, if you don't want to be silly, you can this is just great insurance for a mono white creature deck because like white tends to have a pretty difficult time rebuilding after board wipes when it comes to creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this will just get you all your creatures back. Like the Broodmoth will die, but then all your creatures will come back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Gives all your creatures unflying.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. It'd be great in Aristocrats, even just for value. Like if you're in a blink deck and you want to get, a little bit of value off of killing something, bringing it back, and then blinking it to remove the counter, like that could be a fun loop as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just a super sweet card, and even 4 mana for a 3/4 flyer is a great rate. Well, maybe not great, but it's pretty good.
It's acceptable.
Yes.
It's good.
Next up, we've got the first of a cycle. We've got Mythos of Snapdax. So this is for 2 white. You get a sorcery that says each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. And if black-red was spent to cast this spell, you can choose permanents for each player instead. So this thing is crazy. It reminds me a lot of
Tragic Arrogance. Yeah.
Totally.
A little bit more efficient at 4 mana instead of 5 mana. But of course, it's a little bit more restrictive in the sense that you have to be Mardu as well. Like you have to meet that Mardu mana requirement to get that choice. But still, it looks like a powerful removal spell.
And then even if you don't have the Mardu to pay for it, everyone would keep their best permanent, but it would still kind of clean up the board as well if you're in a situation like that. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and in a Mardu deck, you could just run this and Tragic Arrogance to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're good.
Seems good.
Does seem good. Oh, it's me. Sorry, guys. Next up, we have Stormwild Caprador. It's 2 and a white for a 1/3 flyer. It's a bird goat. If non-combat damage would be dealt to Stormwild Caprador, prevent that damage. Put a 1/1 counter on Stormwild Caprador for each 1 damage prevented this way.
Yeah, you don't want to bolt this bird.
Nope. I really like this card. I think in Standard it's going to be really good against the mono-red decks.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. And then also this card reminds me also of Swans of Bryn Argyle.
Oh, yeah.
I really like that card. Yeah, and this kind of like reminds me a little bit of that. So instead of drawing cards, it gets 1/1 counters, but you know.
And can we just like take a second to like remind everybody that it's a bird goat?
Yeah, it's not right. I don't like its weird bird hands.
I think this is like our 6th goat in Magic. I could be wrong on that, but
and it's a bird goat.
Yeah, in a few more sets, you'll be able to make a morph on the Boundless Commander deck with Goat Tribal as its.
There you go.
As its
That's all I've asked for.
Yeah.
All right, we've got.
I don't know about that
It
one.
looks like we've got 10 goats. A lot of them had been errata to be a goat, but 10 goats in Magic now, and it looks like two of the 10 have come out this year.
Oh wow!
Good year
So
for
there you go.
goats. This conversation is really getting my goat. It's a dad joke.
All right, let's move on to the color blue.
Could we please?
So, first one up here is Boon of the Wish Giver. So it's 4 of anything and 2 blue, and you get to draw 4 cards. But it does also have cycling for only 1 generic mana.
Yeah.
Riley's like,
card is
yeah,
spicy.
Oh yeah.
keep talking.
So I think I think this was from my list that I put on here just because I bought a Commander Precon, the one with Brutaclad. Is it Brutaclad Artifacts Matter?
Oh yeah, that was Saheeli
deck, and it had Tidings in there. And there was one game that I started, like I opened up the box, played it right out of the box, and I got stuck with a Tidings in my hand and like stuck on like 4 mana, and I just hated it. I was like, why is Tidings in my fucking hand right now? But I would much rather have Boon of the Wish Giver in that case. But the biggest reason I put it in here is because there's some people talking about seeing play in Fires of Invention.
Right.
Just because it's a way to refill your hand in the late game. But even with Fires, like if you're cycling that card as a cantrip, basically, it doesn't count as casting a spell. It's an ability, right?
Oh,
so you can still use it with Fires.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right.
Moving.
Next up.
Oh, no, it is... damn, I did it again, didn't
Is it
I?
me?
No, it is you. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I rolled a 6 again.
We've got Escape Protocol. So for 1 and a blue, we've got an enchantment that says whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1. And when you do, exile target artifact or creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's kind of like a Astral Slide.
Yes,
kind of like an Astral
it is
Slide
kind of like
that
Astral Slide.
you're taxed to use its ability. But you can only hit artifacts or creatures you control. But the artifact piece, that's new, because Astral Slide only hit creatures.
Yeah, and you could... Yeah,
Correct.
This could help... Like in Commander, this could help you... You know, like untap a mana vault, right? Comes back untapped, you use the mana again, things like that. Any mana rock, right?
Yeah, that's pretty spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I really like this one, was for that kind of like artifact shenanigans. And then again, also like being able to, like you can cycle something at instant speed and then you can, blink something that's being targeted.
Yeah.
So you can save your permanence that way too.
Yeah, good tech card for sure.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Keep Safe. It's 1 and a blue for an instant. Counter target spell that targets a permanent you control, and draw a card.
Yeah, for sure. It's common. Popper time.
You're gonna see that. You're gonna see that a lot. Yeah, it is. It is narrow in terms of what it can counter, but it replaces itself, and that really takes it over the top for me.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the big reasons I'm a fan of this card is it does replace itself, and that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, very.
Me likey.
Whoa, thank you. All right, let's move on to Mythos of Aluna. This is 2 of anything and 2 blue. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. If red-green was spent to cast a spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent, except the token has, when this permanent enters the battlefield, if it's a creature, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. So yeah, this is a cool card, because you're obviously getting more value from copying one of your creatures, and it's if you have the teamer colors, you're getting a removal spell in there as well.
Yeah, but it also says permanent. It could be anything on the battlefield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is super powerful, right? Like Phyrexian Metamorph hits artifacts and creatures, and that card is like a bomb in Commander. So
yeah. I think the biggest difference there is Phyrexian Metamorph, or most clone effects don't actually target. So that's one thing to note, because if something does happen to have a Hexproof or Shroud, you can't target it with this.
Right.
Yeah.
So run what's that one from Cons? That's
Clever Impersonator?
Yeah, just run that instead.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, it's kind of like a second copy of Clever Impersonator. Like, honestly, it's hitting basically anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Next up, we've got Neutralize. So for 1 blue, we've got an instant counter spell, and it's got cycling 2. So I'm excited for this. Anytime you have a counter spell that has some flexibility, whether you want to, hold it up to. I think one of the strongest ways to use a counter spell is if you have a plan B, right? So that way you're not wasting the mana that you're using that turn. Mm-hmm. You can hold up 3 mana to counter something powerful that your opponent plays. Or if nothing powerful is played or nothing happens, you can just cycle it away and get something new.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And for anyone who's still running Cancel in any of their decks, Commander or otherwise, replace it with this, because this is better.
This is
just strictly better.
Easy, strict. Yeah, it's one of the few strictly better scenarios.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about Neutralize is it is the first counter spell which has cycling on it, where it actually hard counters the spell. Because all other counters in Magic that have cycling on them, it's regarded to your opponent paying a certain cost.
Yeah, like Censor.
So this is actually So this is actually the first one that just hard counters the spell that has cycling on it. So
yeah, I think that's the best news I've gotten all year. It's cool. It's been a rough year.
That's fair.
Next up, we have Ominous Seas. It's 1 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas. Remove 8 foreshadow counters from Ominous Seas. Create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, and you can cycle it for 2 generic mana.
Yeah, this is a cool card. Obviously, the cycling is really nice, because if you draw this late game, you're like, I don't need this.
Look, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Out of here.
But if you get it early game, your card draws are going to turn into 8/8 Krakens, and the cool thing is, like, when you remove the counters, you don't have to sacrifice the enchantment, so it's going to keep sticking around.
And there are all kinds of ways to add counters, like, besides just drawing cards. So, that also makes it different. And who's going to waste removal on this?
Exactly. Like, I wouldn't want to destroy this. It's like, I guess you're going to have a Kraken at some point.
Yeah.
I'll worry about that later.
I'll unsummon that Kraken when it comes out, but I'm not gonna care about the enchantment.
Well, let me board in a Wilt to deal with this.
All right, so next up we have Reconnaissance Mission, which is 2 of anything and 2 blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And it also has cycling for 2.
Isn't this just like Bident of Thassa for...
Yeah, or Coastal Piracy. That's cycling.
Yeah, and Coastal Piracy... Bident of Thassa had that other activated ability, like all the artifacts. So yeah, this is just a better Coastal Piracy at uncommon. Well, like originally Coastal Piracy was uncommon, but then in 8th edition, it was bumped up to a rare.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm a big fan.
Now they made it better and put cycling on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cycling makes everything better.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah, straight up. We need to make t-shirts that say that.
That's good.
All right. Next. Oh man, this is something else. Next up we have Shark Typhoon. This is for 5 and a blue. You get an enchantment that says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. Yes, a flying shark. Where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And it also has cycling for X1 blue. And whenever you cycle Shark Typhoon, you create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. And holy crap, this thing is really powerful and kind of just this big joke. Like, I don't know, it's such a weird card. Obviously, it's a reference to Sharknado, but man, that cycling ability, like just making, I don't know, say like you pump 4 mana into it, make a 2/2 shark and draw a card. Like, I love that. Why not? It's a flying 2/2 that just drew me a card. That's great. And
totally.
And if you have enough mana in the late game, you get it down and you start pumping out flying sharks. Like, what's not to love?
Yeah.
And you're just getting a flying shark for casting a spell.
Yeah.
And you can, the great thing about cycling, right? It's an instant, you can use it at instant speed. So you could create a shark, to block or just make combat more favorable. And that's always good,
And it's an activated ability. So it's essentially uncounterable unless you've got, somebody's got a stifle effect.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys like value, right? Then you want to have this on the board, and you also want to have a metallurgic summonings.
Oh yeah.
And now any instant or sorcery you cast is making 2 creatures.
Oh yeah. Solid.
Just jank
Good
tribal
stuff.
Next up, we have a voracious great shark. So we're staying on the shark train here. It's it's 3 and 2 blue for a 5/4 shark. It has flash, and when voracious great shark enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell. And I like the nod to Jaws here in the flavor text. There's no boat big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just great because you can totally 2-for-1 somebody, and then you get a 5/4 body. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You play this out. It's like you can counter their spell, and then now you just have a big old 5/4.
Yeah, I understand for color pie reasons why it says counter the artifact or creature spell, but holy crap, does that shark just look like it's messing it up? Like it almost feels like it should be a destroy effect.
Yeah, it should be like a Pongify. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him a 3/3. I don't care. I got a 5/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to black.
All right, guys. Yeah, moving on to color black. So first up, we have the Bastion of Remembrance. This is 2 of anything in a black for an enchantment. When Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. And whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this is obviously for Aristocrat-style decks. More of these effects are always good. And I like how when you play this, you do also get a human from it as well.
Yeah, you get a little bit of fodder.
Yeah, and for other cards that do this, like Zulaport Cutthroat or Blood Artist, those, this being an enchantment is just harder to remove. So you can have redundancy in your deck with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that fact, but it's also harder to recur in black. Like if you're just straight mono black, there's not too many ways to get back an enchantment from the graveyard.
No, that's true. Very true.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a give and take there.
Yep. Totally.
Next, we have Extinction Event. Now, for 3 and a black, you get a sorcery that says choose odd or even. Exile each creature with converted mana cost of the chosen value, where 0 is even.
So, anytime we have a board wipe that exiles creatures, I'm a big fan, especially with all the indestructible shenanigans we've had going on in Commander just increasingly over the last few years. But with the right deck and board state, this could be a relatively one-sided board wipe.
Yeah, I mean, there's companions that care about your spells being only odd or only even converted mana costs.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you could build a deck that way that definitely makes this a little bit more one-sided for everybody else.
Oh, for that that person in your play group that went with the companion that only wants you to have even converted mana cost cards in their deck, and you just tech in a Void Winnower. Oh, so good.
and then have this as the board wipe against them.
Oh, they're done.
Yeah. So
done.
Can be useful
Get out of
and
here.
it can also wreck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a 4-mana board wipe. What could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
You're fine.
Literally nothing.
All right, next up we have Call of the Death Dweller. It's 2 and a black for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature cards with total converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a Death Touch counter on either of them, then put a Menace counter on either of them. So you can put a Death Touch and Menace counter on each of them. Is that right?
Well, like you could choose to put them both on one of the creatures.
I see. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good. This is a confusing set.
Yes. These kind of cards are really good as well in like limited and stuff. If you do have a lot of like creatures, because now you're getting 1 card gets you 2 creatures back. And then obviously if we're again doing some aristocrat style stuff, a lot of those creatures are smaller ones, so this just gets your combo pieces back out of your graveyard onto the battlefield as well.
And it says up to, so you don't have to get 2 creatures. You can just get 1, which is always nice. That flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah, 1 3 CMC creature. Yeah, you could do that. Or a 3 CMC creature and an ornithopter.
Oh,
Bam.
boy.
Oh, get him.
Give that Death Touch the ornithopter.
Yeah. Maybe you could go with the Memnite instead of the ornithopter.
It might be a better pick, but who knows?
Give it the 1 power.
Yeah. Well, my ornithopter has menace and flying.
Oh, you better not block.
What are you gonna do about it?
Oh, ornithopter. What a great card.
All right, next up we have the Grim Dancer. So he's 1 of anything and 2 black. Grim Dancer enters the battlefield with your choice of 2 different counters on it from among Menace, Death Touch, and Lifelink. It is a 3/3 nightmare, by the way.
So it's kind of a big deal.
That's a good rate.
It's a good rate. I think this card is going to be a little slept on, but it's super good. Obviously limited. I think we'll see standard play as well, just for the versatility of the card.
Yeah, and I think there's enough things going to be in standard that care about counters. So just something giving itself counters is useful.
I think if you go to a strip club, I've never been, but I imagine like the last act of the night, is like the Grim Dancer.
And you get to choose which counters they come out with?
Yeah. Oh, they have a skull face. Could you wear like one of those rubber masks maybe?
All right.
Oh, boy.
Next up, we've got another Mythos. This is Mythos of Nethroi?
Nethroi.
So for 2 and a black, you've got an instant that says destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if green and white was spent on... Jesus.
It's a little confusing the way that they wrote this. I had to look this card up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try it again. Destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if green-white was spent to cast a spell. So basically, you're targeting a non-land permanent. If it's a creature, it dies. If it's not, you better have spent that other mana on it, otherwise it fizzles, I guess.
Yep.
Oh my god. Oh man, I can imagine this messing up so many people on Arena, but it is a powerful spell.
Yeah, and I guess too, like if you just wanted to cast the spell for 2 and a black on an online permanent, just to get the cast trigger if you're in Storm, even though I know this isn't the right color, but that's like, I'm like, hey, it's like, hey, you can cast this spell and nothing happens. And I just needed that cast trigger. And that's, I don't know what I'm doing here, guys.
Yeah. What a weird text box, though. That is, I mean, I know it's a running theme that they have the if and kind of thing, but that's a weird way to format this.
I agree, totally. Okay, we're moving on to red here. First up, we have Everquill Phoenix. It's 2 and 2 red for a 4/4 Phoenix with flying, and it has mutate. And mutate cost is 3 and a red. When this creature mutates, create a red artifact token named Feather with pay 1, sacrifice Feather, return target Phoenix card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, so this, obviously you see a lot of Phoenixes that can come back from the graveyard in different ways. This one's pretty interesting because if you do have a mutate style deck going on, you can end up getting a bulk of the feathers that you can keep bringing back your Everquill Phoenixes with. And it's also nice that it creates a artifact to bring it back with, because there are other ones that just create a creature And so we'll probably be seeing this as standard, and it's a lot easier to make sure you have a burn spell up to like kill the creature that would be bringing back the Phoenix. This way, you would need to have some sort of artifact removal to stop your opponent from bringing back the Phoenix. So
yeah, that's pretty spicy when you think about it like that.
Yeah, and I think like one of the strongest things with Mutate is giving your stack keyword abilities. So just the fact that it has not only that Mutate trigger, but having flying as well, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, and like Mutate sort of reminds me a lot of they probably in Hearthstone they probably released the Boomsday set. Oh God, it was probably like over maybe 2 years ago. It's been a while. It just rotated out of standard, so probably like 2 years ago. And with that set, they introduced a mechanic called Magnetic. It had to do with mechs, the mech minion type. And when you had a mech that had magnetic, if you had a mech on your board, you played the mech with magnetic to the left of that mech, it would attach to that mech and become the same creature. But unlike Mutate, it would combine its power toughness stats. But if it got returned to your hand or if it got devolved, the mana cost would read as the original minion, and if it was bounced back to your hand, it would be whatever, possibly crappy minion you originally played. But the cool thing about Mutate is, and I don't think we mentioned this at the top of the show, but if you mutate a creature onto another creature, the original creature, if it didn't have, it isn't affected by summoning sickness at this point, let's say, the new stats boost that new creature isn't affected by summoning sickness. So you can get kind of pseudo haste in a lot of scenarios.
Which is actually really good to save for this one, especially because then your Phoenix is now, you gotta just have a 4/4 flyer, which you can swing in with right away.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but Magnetic is actually super similar to this, now that I think about it.
Spicy.
Very spicy.
Alrighty, so next up, we have Flame Spill, which is 2 of anything and a red for an instant. Flame Spill deals 4 damage to target creature. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. So, Mono Red Burn just got a really fun new tool.
Yeah,
it's pretty spicy.
I like it a lot.
And this was actually a playtest card, or based on one of the playtest cards that were in the convention boosters of Mystery Booster. It was dealt 4 damage, and it had Trample. So it's basically the same thing.
Oh.
That's a fun little. That's a fun little Easter egg. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's like this is a super versatile spell as well, because it's like if you're in a spot where you just want to get through burn damage, you can target something that only has like 1 or 2 toughness to get the damage through.
Yep.
And it's like, or you can just use it to get rid of a bigger creature.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like a modal spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can treat it that way.
I'm going to.
All right, next up we've got Footfall Crater. So for a red, you get an enchantment aura that says Enchant Land. An enchanted land has tap, target creature gains trample and haste until end of turn, and it also has cycling for 1. So, I mean, at the very least, like, it's a cantrip for 1. But if you want to have, I guess, a more resilient way of giving your creatures trample and haste, then you can put it on a land instead of on the creature itself. Because if that creature dies and it was enchanted to the creature, then of course that's going to the graveyard as well. But I imagine the land is just going to stick around a little bit more often than the creature would.
Yeah, and then you can also repeatedly target every single turn,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could also see this have applications in Commander, in Voltron strategies, but also in strategies where you just want to be able to have access to the mana that mana dorks create on the turn that you play them. Like, yes, you're losing mana off of a land, but if I play a Bloom Tender, I want to be able to tap it for 3 or 4 mana the turn that I play it. So you're kind of getting ahead that way. And I totally agree that it's just, the fact that this has cycling really makes it playable.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, totally.
Next up, we have Luca, Coppercoat Outcast. It's 3 and 2 red for a legendary planeswalker with 5 loyalty. His +1 is exile the top 3 cards of your library. Creature cards exiled this way gain. You may cast this card from exile as long as you control a Luca planeswalker. His -2 is exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And his -7 is each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Sorry, I was just looking at the first and second abilities and seeing if you could recast the exiled creature card, but I don't think you can.
No. But again, like the great part about the -2 is that it's looking for a creature with higher CMC.
Mm-hmm.
So if you build your deck in a certain way and you want to like grab a certain piece, so like I only have like a couple, 8 CMC creature cards. So if I get rid of like a 7, I know like what I'm going for.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be a pretty spicy build around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then obviously, if you're in a situation where you have a lot of mana, when you hit the +1, you should be able to get some creatures off of it as well. So you're going through your deck faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you can cast it for as long as you control a Luca Planeswalker. So if you lose, let's say, this Luca and you're in a construction format and you're able to cast another one, you can cast those cards because it just is concerned that you control a Luca Planeswalker.
Yeah, totally.
And there might even be a starter deck.
Yeah. I think this card's kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
Starter deck Luca.
The only qualm I have with this card is the art, where he's got that harpoon-like thing on his left arm, like his bicep area. Like, how is that attached? Is that a weapon that he pulls off? It's sort of like whenever a weapon is worn in a really cool-looking way, it's probably very impractical to actually remove it and use it in quick succession. But I don't know. What the hell do I know? I don't know anything about harpoons.
I mean, the handle's right there for him to grab with the right hand, so I bet you he just like rips it off.
He probably does rip it off, and it just like tears the whole leather piece with it, and he's just jabbing at beasts. I do like the salt and pepper in his hair, though. It makes him look distinguished.
Yeah. All right, so next up we have the Mythos of Vadrok. So, just like the other ones, it's 2 of anything and 2 red. Mythos of Vadrok deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. If white and blue was spent to cast a spell, until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated.
This one's fine. This is probably the one I'm least excited about.
Yeah.
Amen.
At least in Commander, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a short discussion. Next up, we've got Yadaro, Wandering Monster. For 5 and 2 red, you've got a legendary creature, Dinosaur Turtle. It says trample, haste, cycling for 1 and a red. And whenever you cycle Yadaro, shuffle it into your library from your graveyard. If you've cycled a card named Yadaro, Wandering Monster, for 4 or more times this game, put it onto the battlefield from your graveyard instead. And it's got 8 power and 8 toughness.
I like that it says in brackets, do this before you draw.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's how cycling's supposed to work, right?
Yep.
Is you do whatever the triggered cycling ability is before you draw.
Yeah.
But it's not always remembered.
Yeah. And when I saw this card, I think this is a super, super cool card. And when I saw it, I sort of thought about building an Is It Spells Matter deck, probably in Modern, even though it's probably not going to be that good, but just to get through my deck as fast as I could and get this ability where I can get this onto the battlefield as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, an 8/8 trampling haste dinosaur turtle sounds pretty legit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a legend. But if you play a second one, you've already attacked with the other one on the turn before. You play the second one, the other one gets destroyed, and then you swing in for 8 again. What could go wrong?
It is kind of ironic that a dinosaur turtle has haste.
Isn't
I will
it?
say that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, this card, I think if you're going to be playing it, you're going to want to play it as a 4-of, so that you can find them, cycle them, and get this out as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And also looking at it, you're paying 8 total through cycling to get it on the battlefield. And he costs 7 anyways, so doing it the cycling way is pretty much the same as the actual CMC.
But you get more cards out of the deal.
Exactly. I think this is a super good
it's
card.
really cool. It's probably a stupid question here. You can't, if this is your commander, you cannot cycle this from your command zone, right?
No, it has to be in your hand.
No.
That would have been sweet. Because then when you go to the graveyard, you just put it back in the command zone. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that'd be broken.
Let's get a rule change, am I right?
Am I right?
All right. Am I right?
Okay, we're moving on to green. First up, we have Barrier Breach. It's 2 and a green for an instant. Exile up to 3 target enchantments, and you can cycle it for 2 mana. I think this card would be too narrow in the wild in Commander, but because it has cycling on it, it does give that extra utility. So if you find yourself in a scenario where there just aren't a lot of enchantments on the battlefield, you can just get rid of it and draw a card. I do really love that it says exile because in white,
at instant speed.
at instant speed in white, the color of enchantments, there's so many ways to get them all back from the graveyard.
Yeah.
But
and especially in a world of gods from Theros, like there's a bunch of people. Well, I mean, there would be a bunch of people playing at their local game store with these new gods, right? Mm-hmm. So being able to exile those indestructible gods instead is pretty powerful.
Absolutely, yeah.
Super powerful, yeah.
And for standard with a standard with a Theros set in it, this is definitely not too narrow. So yeah, that's very true.
No.
And when all else fails, you just cycle it away.
Absolutely. God, I love cycling.
Cycling makes everything better.
That's so good. Alrighty, so next up, Colossification. So this is 5 of anything and then 2 green. It's an enchantment aura which you attach to a creature. When Colossification enters the battlefield, you have to tap the enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +20.
Yep. Oh, it was a big dumb creature.
I thought this card was kind of a meme at first, and then I started to think that if you put this on your commander, then it has 1 or more power, it's instantly a one-shot killing machine. Yes, it gets tapped down, and there are ways to untap creatures in the format in many ways. But is this kind of something that people just start putting into their green decks because you can just one-shot kill people with it? It's kind of good.
When I first read this card, I thought it when it entered the battlefield, you could tap down whatever creature you wanted, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's really strong!" And then I realized it taps down the creature it's enchanting. So even with in standard, if you were to jank somebody out with Storm Herald, 2 and a red for a 3/2 with haste, that when it enters the battlefield, you bring all the auras from your graveyard onto the battlefield. You can't even do that because it taps down whatever is enchanting. But what you could do is you could turn around and thud somebody with it, or fling somebody with it.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
That's a lot of moving parts, but yeah, you could.
But yeah, as far as killing people with commander damage, it might come up as a thing. It's a 7 mana aura. Yeah. I don't know, unless you're dedicated to this kind of approach, I'm sure somebody's going to jank you out at some point, but I don't think it's that good.
Yeah, the mana cost is a bit high.
Yeah.
I really like the flavor text. Turns out the case of the flattened outpost and the case of the missing kitten were related.
Oh, and it's a kitty.
And it's just a giant cat.
Oh, poor kitty.
I like that part.
All right.
Alrighty.
Next up, we have Gem Razor. Oh, get those gems.
I like gems.
For 3 and a green, you get a beast, a 4/4 beast with mutate for 1 green. And at its base, it has Breach and Trample, and it says whenever this creature mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. I'd put this in this list just based on, I was thinking of Canadian Highlander, honestly. I was just thinking of another way to interact with an artifact or enchantment without it being necessarily an enter the battlefield ability. Like in mono green Stompy, one issue that you might run into is something like a torpor orb, where somebody plays, or some other way to like mitigate your enter the battlefield effect. And most of your artifact and enchantment destruction is enter the battlefield, so you kind of get screwed in that case. But that mutate for 1 green, I think is pretty relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And the creature also has good stats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if you mutate over, you're getting a 3-mana 4/4.
Basically, yeah. Turn one of your elves into a 4/4 reach trample.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Big ol' elf.
Next up, we have Migration Path, which we sort of touched on a little bit earlier. But Migration Path is 3 and 1 green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library, and you can cycle it for 2 mana.
Yeah,
cycling makes things better.
Yeah, this is
explosive vegetation with cycling.
Exactly. Yeah. So just just burn your copies of Explosive Vegetation and put this in your deck.
Yeah, throw them out.
Yeah, throw
You noob.
Alrighty, we have the Green Mythos, which is of Brokos. 2 of anything and 2 green. If blue-black was spent to cast a spell, search your library for a card, put that card into the graveyard, then shuffle your library, and then you may return up to 2 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy.
A little bit of graveyard recursion.
Yeah, it's like a demonic tutor and a regrowth stapled together.
I guess, yeah. That's the way to put it if you got all 3 there.
Yeah.
And of course, we do like in Commander being able to get our cards back and play them again.
Yeah, we only have 1 of them, so it's kind of a thing.
Unfortunately, it only hits permanents, but I'm sure you can figure out something.
I would hope so. Yeah. But, you can get lands back. That's nice. Can't always do that.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Vivian, Monsters Advocate. For 3 green, you get a legendary Planeswalker Vivian with starting loyalty of 3. She says she has a static ability that says you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. For her first +1 ability, she says create a 3/3 green beast creature token, and put your choice of a vigilance counter, reach counter, or trample counter on it. And then for her -2, it says whenever you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. That's pretty spicy.
Yeah, she seems really good. I don't love how little loyalty she has, though. That's kind of a problem.
Yeah, she seems a little flimsy.
She does protect herself, though.
Yeah, that 3/3 beast is not nothing.
No, and especially with those.
And you can also give it reach.
Yeah, with those keywords, absolutely.
Yeah, and I like that pseudo card advantage of playing off the top of your library too. So she seems pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always love cards that let you look at the top card of your library and play them. So
yeah, well,
yeah,
it's card advantage, right?
Yep.
Straight up card advantage, yeah.
Next up, we have Wilt. It's 1 and a green for an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you can cycle it for 2. So all your copies of Naturalize, throw them out.
Throw them out. Cycling makes everything better.
This is better.
Get them gone.
Yeah, no, like I've always been on the fence about running a Naturalize effect. Like, I mean, there's other ways of getting a Naturalize effect, of course.
Better ways.
But Naturalize, I mean, like, it's not a bad rate for 1 and a green to destroy an artifact or enchantment. But just adding cycling makes me want to play this even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why, you'd run Nature's Claim or Crows and Grip over Naturalize is because those cards have certain characteristics that make them better than Naturalize in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
And this is just a better version of Naturalize. So, unless you want the redundancy, there's really no reason to run it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Ed Zachary.
All right, we're moving on to the gold/multicolor cards.
Oh, yeah.
And first up, we have the Eerie Ultimatum. This is 2 white, 3 black, and 2 green. So it's a total of 7 CMC. And you can return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield.
That's pretty. Sure. It's pretty hot.
Like, whatever. Just,
You're an Abzan?
Yep, just put them all back on the battlefield. Go for it.
Yeah, all the permanents in there, just put them on the battlefield.
Yeah, this thing's a bomb in Commander.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Straight up bomb.
Spooky. Spooky ultimatum.
Spooky ultimatum.
All right, next up we've got Emergent Ultimatum. Another good ultimatum. I mean, there's one for sure that I'm not a big fan of, but this one is for black, black, green, 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 blue, blue. You get a sorcery. It says search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. Then an opponent chooses one of those cards. You shuffle that card into your library, and you may cast the other cards without paying their mana costs. And then you exile Emergent Ultimatum. So I saw a couple people making different piles for this card. One was, I think Seth showed Enter the Infinite with the Jace from War of the Spark, the one that's basically like the lab man.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other? It was Omniscience.
Tough call.
So either, like if they shuffle back Omniscience, then you win the game. If they shuffle back Jace, then you can draw your deck and play everything. Or if they shuffle back Enter the Infinite, then you just have a Jace and an Omniscience, which is probably the correct pick.
Right.
But, I mean, even then, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, I feel like your deck is built properly and you get to cast an Enter the Infinite, you're probably going to win that game. So
yeah.
I'd probably, I'd agree with you on that one.
Yeah, this card's definitely also very spicy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so next up we have Genesis Ultimatum. It's 2 green, 3 blue, and 2 red for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand. Exile Genesis Ultimatum. Well, it's nice that you get to put them into your hand if they're not permanents.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty spicy.
It's still a little bit meh because it's only 5 cards. And
7 mana. Yeah.
If you're not,
arguably not as strong as the last 2 that we just looked at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
But still better than my least favorite.
Yeah, this one's all right. I can just definitely see me playing this card and just whiffing every time. And I'm just gonna be like, I hate you.
With my
Get out
luck,
of here.
yeah, and then you cut it from the deck and you just never look at it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Inspired Ultimatums. This is 2 blue, 3 red, and 2 white. Target player gains 5 life. Inspired Ultimatum deals 5 damage to any target, and then you draw 5 cards.
Wow.
Yeah, this is it. My least favorite one. Man, what a mana commitment to draw 5 cards.
No kidding. They're just
Very
way
much.
easier
But
ways.
you get to remove something.
I mean, possibly.
I guess you could just dome somebody for 5.
You know what you can do? It does say target player gains 5 life, so you could dome somebody for 5 and make them gain 5 life if you want.
Yep, you're correct.
All right.
All right, next up, we've got Ruinous Ultimatum. Red, red, white, 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 black, black, for a sorcery that says, destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. Like, what the hell?
That is sick. This card is sick. It's like Ingarrick's Wake or Plague Wind, but better.
But for non-land permanents.
Yeah, it's cheaper. The mana cost is more restrictive, but it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And in a Mardu deck, you're just like, why not? You're just like, I'm gonna win the game. This is like, what's that card that we all hate? That's also 7 mana. Cyclonic Rift. They're they're not. It's probably more unlikely that they'll come back from this. I guess unless they have like a graveyard centric deck, and in a lot of cases it can be easier to bring stuff back. But I'm not going to worry about that.
Like, I can't believe this is in the same cycle as the one that makes you gain 5 life and draw 5 cards and deal 5 damage. Like, destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. That's freaking broken.
The other thing too is if you whiff on Genesis Ultimatum, you're drawing 5 cards and you don't even get to do the damage and gain life.
I guess that's true, but like you have that upside of being able to get ahead on mana just by like hitting a permanent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or hitting lands. Hell, like if you're hitting lands, you're getting ahead on lands.
That's fair. And you get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Brokos, Apex of Forever. That's a pretty sweet name. He's 2, a black, a green, and a blue for a legendary creature, Nightmare Beast Elemental, 6/6 with trample, and he has mutate, like all of these titans. It's 2 hybrid black-blue and 2 green, and you may cast Brokos, Apex of Forever from your graveyard using its mutate ability. That's pretty solid.
That's dope.
So this thing is going to be tough to get rid of.
Yeah. What I want to do with this guy is I want to play him in standard with Tomebound Lich, discard him to Tomebound Lich when it enters the battlefield, and then like mutate it onto Tomebound Lich so you've got a trample, death touch, lifelink, 6/6.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Eesh.
Yeah, this guy seems really good. Next up is the Cunning Night Bonder.
Ooh.
This is 2 Dimir hybrid mana, so it's blue or black. It's a 2/2 human rogue with flash. Spells with flash you cast cost 1 less to cast and can't be countered.
This card seems stupid powerful.
Yep.
And it totally could have been a rare, and nobody would have even blinked an eye.
Man, only if they errated instance to say flash. Sorcery with flash.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you do have like flash creatures and stuff or anything else with flash, like this card's so good because then you just can't. You know you're getting those cards down.
And isn't there a Simic flash deck running around in Standard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this just goes right in there.
Yeah. Yeah, because
why
it's
not?
just 2 blue.
Yeah, this is just a solid card. Like it would be good even if these spells couldn't be countered, but that just makes it so sweet. I just love this card. I don't know where or when I'm going to play with it, but it just seems so stupid good to me.
Oh, yeah. All right, next up, we've got Death's Oasis. So for Abzan, white, black, green, you get an enchantment that says, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a creature card with lesser converted mana cost than the creature that died from your graveyard to your hand. And for 1 and sacking Death's Oasis, you gain life equal to the greatest converted mana cost among creatures you control. So just, I think this would be a nice engine to build, just with like some sort of Abzan aristocrats kind of build, just so you're cycling through your creatures all the time and getting value out of like enter the battlefield triggers, die triggers, and of course bringing more fodder back to feed to your Blood Artist or your Zulaport Cutthroats.
Yeah, or your Bastion of Remembrance.
Or your Bastion of Remembrance.
Just don't forget about it.
Yeah, I think this is just like really good fuel for any like kind of like graveyard style deck.
Next up, we have Dire Tactics. It's a white and a black for an instant. Exile target creature. If you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. This is just premium removal at 2 mana.
Yeah, because it's exile as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this card a lot.
Yeah, I think this will definitely see play in standard.
Oh, sure,
Yeah. And
especially if humans pop up. Seems to be a human theme going on.
There does seem to be like a white-black human theme going on. And then it might even like maybe pop into a modern deck. Like black-white taxes. Like you have Path Exiles, but you know.
I know all about taxes.
2 mana for exile is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're moving on to which one? Who's doing this?
The Fiend Artisan, which is me.
Fiend Boy Eric. Let's do it.
All right, guys. This one is 2 mana of Golgari, so you're going to be paying black or green, and it's the Fiend Artisan, so it's a 1/1 nightmare. Fiend Artisan gets 1/1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and then you may pay X and green or black, and tap it to sacrifice another creature, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery.
Yeah, this card seems very just so much utility. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at its worst, it's just a big 2/2, right? Like if you're building like in the slightest towards this card, filling up your graveyard with creatures, like it's it's going to be above rate in most cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's basically a tutor on a body.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Next up, we've got Frondland Felidar. Frondland? What the hell's a Frondland?
I don't know. It sounds like someplace you go to get like boils lanced off or something. Frondland.
What? I don't need that image. All right. For 2, a green and a white, we got a cat beast, 3/5 with vigilance. And it says creatures you control with vigilance have pay 1 and tap to tap target creature.
This seems really good and limited with a board full of creatures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a bomb in limited. It can attack and tap down a creature before it blocks.
Yeah.
Or defensively, it can attack and then defend and tap down a creature before it blocks, right?
Wait a second. If you attack and then before this is during the attack step, you activate this ability and tap down your opponent's creatures, all your attackers just get through because there's no blocking.
Correct.
Oh man, that's so dirty. I love it.
Your creatures do need to have vigilance.
Right.
But yeah, totally. That's why I loved this card so much. When I first saw it, I was like, if you just do like a vigilance style deck, you can just get through.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's quite a lot of vigilance. Like there's at least a couple creatures in this set that are just vanilla creatures with vigilance, or they're sort of not so great creatures with vigilance, which would go into this kind of signpost uncommon deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up we have Karuga, the Macro Sage. He's 3, or I guess it could be a she. It's 3 and 2 hybrid green-blue mana for a legendary creature, Dinosaur Hippo, 5/4 with Companion. The Companion clause is your starting deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater and land cards. And when Karuga, the Macro Sage, enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater. Seems like a solid companion to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, it's a dinosaur hippo. How can you not be excited for it?
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Exactly.
Are you going to choose him as your companion and do a commander deck with 3 CMC or greater?
Oh, I'd be in. Why not?
When it comes to companion, because the companion isn't in your deck, do you have to follow the same color identity rules surrounding the commander?
Yeah, I believe so.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that seems fair. That seems like it would be a little crazy if you didn't have to.
Yeah.
But the commander itself is not considered to be in the deck, so the companion clause isn't concerned with the commander or partner commanders of the deck. Is that correct?
I think it still counts the commander.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. I could easily be mistaken. I haven't seen the comprehensive rules for a companion, but I would assume that the commander's still part of the deck.
Because it says your starting deck contains, and so I think like the commander is part of the deck. So
they're just in the command zone.
Somebody that's listening to this has probably looked at the comprehensive rules and they're just screaming at their device.
Yeah, they're like, fuck you, Riley.
Alrighty, let's move on to Illuna, Apex of Wishes. I love the look of this creature.
I know, so scary.
It's dope.
Yeah. So it's 2 of anything and then green, blue, red. It does have it's a 6/6 with flying and trample. And then you can mutate for 3 of anything, a hybrid red-green, and then 2 blue. And whenever this creature mutates, exile cards in the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand.
Nice.
So this is actually pretty cool because it's kind of like Cascade, but if you really don't want to put it on the battlefield for some reason, you can still put the card into your hand.
Yeah, and there's a lot of contextual reasons why you wouldn't want to put that card on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a mutate creature that you pull up, and you're like, hey, I want to mutate this onto Illuna later, so I'm going to put this into my hand.
Or it might be a card. Yeah. It might be a card with Cascade, and you need that cast trigger. You know.
There you go.
or it might be a big Eldrazi.
I reveal a Shardless Agent and put it on the battlefield.
Do you want to be my friend?
Man! Also, this is a 5 mana creature that's a 6/6 with flying and trample.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
just
crazy rate.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, welcome to Magic.
Yeah, and then you could just mutate a cheaper creature onto it, and then you're gonna get both of the mutate triggers, which is crazy about mutate.
Yeah. Freaking take that Gem Razor, mutate it onto this guy, destroy something, and get another card from your library.
It's disgusting. I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
All right. Speaking of mutate, next up we got Nethroi.
Nethroi. Yeah.
Apex of Death. For 2 Abzan, so white, black, green. You get a legendary creature, Cat Nightmare Beast. It's a 5/5, and it's got mutate for 4 hybrid Selesnya, black, black. And it has Death Touch, Lifelink, and whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total converted power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh my god, you know how many Ornithopters you could get with this?
Oh boy. At least 4.
Oh yeah. Get back all your Ornithopters.
Yeah.
No, this is really spicy.
Yeah, if you had some sort of sack outlet as well, like if you have this and then you also have like Protein Hulk in your deck, yeah, you're just going to get the Protein Hulk back again and sacrifice it again to grab like another 6 power to creatures from your library. Mm-hmm. And you can just really just go nuts.
Yeah, and especially that clause that's power 10 or less, you know, there are a lot of creatures with low powers that have very powerful activated abilities and big butts. So the fact that it's not CMC, you know, I feel like you have a lot more flexibility to get a ton of stuff back. Exactly. Yeah, it's the Trump version of huge.
Also, isn't the original Big Butts commander Abzan?
You mean Doran? Yeah. He's the OG. That's right. I was totally thinking of Arcades, and I'm like, no, that's not the original.
No. But yeah, throw this right into Doran. I think he fits super well.
Oh yeah, that's greasy. I like it. Next up, we have Parcel Beast. It's like,
is he bringing you parcels?
He's like he's a male beast.
Male beast,
but not the kind with a penis though. Or maybe it is. I don't know.
Got a package.
Yeah. Nice. Oh yes. So Parcel Beast is 2 a green and a blue for a 2/4 elemental beast. It has mutate for a green and a blue. And an activated ability where you can pay 1, tap it, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand. This card is just like, I know it doesn't have a triggered ability when it mutates, but the fact that if you have a creature on the battlefield, you can mutate this 2/4 body onto it for 2, and then you have this activated ability, which is just, it's either land-based mana ramp or card draw, and you don't have to reveal it. What?
Yeah, just repeatable.
This is so good.
Yeah, and then it's also a 2/4 as well, yeah. So it's like, yeah, you can just use it to defend and then tap it to get a card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super good.
And I was thinking about putting something like this in like an experiment Kraj deck.
Oh, yeah. And then you could...
Yeah, just with tapping matters kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be a lot of fun.
That is a commander I've spent many sleepless nights thinking about building. No, I sleep great.
Oh, all right, let's move on to Riel the Everwise. So this is one of anything, a blue and a red, for a 0/3 human wizard. Riel the Everwise gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. Yeah.
Yeah, did you know that Cathartic Reunion is going to be in Standard?
Cathartic Reunion. Yeah, that's right. It was reprinted in this set, wasn't it?
Yeah, discard 2, draw 3. So basically for 2 mana, draw 5.
Yeah.
Right.
That seems good.
Yeah.
And with all the cycling, too. Cycling is a discard effect.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Cycle, get 2 cards.
She seems dope.
Yeah.
Seems really good.
I'd love to make like even like a Voltron commander around her. There's a lot of instants and sorceries that give creatures unblockable and replace themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So you just it's like just do a cantrip deck, and make her a Voltron.
And then there's a few other creatures out in Magic that get power for how many instant sorceries are in the graveyard as well. So
yeah, or triggers on cast like Kiln Fiend.
Yeah.
It's pretty spicy.
She's more like a fiend girl. I had never thought that would happen.
Oh boy. But yeah, actually, I really like this card. Actually, now taking a second look at it, I kind of want to make a commander deck.
Yeah, she's super spicy.
Yeah.
Well, that's where Eric. That's where you have your beginnings in Commander is in the Izzet colors. So it's like you're always called back to them.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Slitherwisp.
He's a slithery little snake.
He's not a slither though, or sliver. Slitherwisp for blue, black. You get an Elemental Nightmare 3/2 with Flash, and it says whenever you cast another spell that has Flash, you draw a card, and each opponent loses 1 life. Take it.
Yeah, so this would be great in like a Cunning Nightbonder deck.
Mm.
That'd be super spicy. Get a play set of each of these, you go to town. Although you don't get the cost reduction. Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't reduce his cost, so.
But you're going to be having Flash stuff, and you're going to be drawing cards, and your opponents lose life.
Yeah, I get it, Eric. Okay.
You know what? Fear is its habitat, and sanity is its prey.
Whoa.
Nice.
Check out that
That's
flavor.
pretty good.
He's slithery.
He's slithering on to that.
I'm a slithery snake.
All right, next up we have Snapdax, Apex of the Hunt. He is a red, a white, and a black for a legendary creature, Dinosaur Cat Nightmare, 3/5 with Mutate. The Mutate cost is 2 and hybrid Rakdos mana, 2 white. It has double strike. Whenever this creature mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. So this is kind of a machine gun effect if you can keep mutating on or under it and just keep cleaning up the board.
And I mean,
and you're gaining life.
3/5 double strike for 4 at its base, like it's pretty strong.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good rate.
Yeah.
It's pretty spicy. And
you can definitely trade up with some like 6 mana cards, and this guy's only 4.
Yeah.
That's what they call a tempo loss. Yeah, I know how to play Magic.
Hey guys, check it out.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure.
All right, next up, we got another Apex. It's Vadrok, the Apex of Thunder. So it's blue, red, and white for a 3/3 elemental dinosaur cat. And the mutate is 1 of anything with hybrid white-blue and then 2 red. It has flying and first strike. Whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Seems pretty good.
Yeah. This is great.
It's a spicy boy.
Oh yeah, free spells, always good. And then you're getting this guy in. And it's a 3/3 with first strike in the air.
Yeah. Or if you got a bigger creature that you're mutating onto, I mean, you're giving it flying and first strike.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's like 4 mana, you're casting a spell out of the graveyard, and you're like, I don't know, 6/5 gets flying and first strike.
Yeah. It's dope.
Yeah, you can get all kinds of combo pieces back from the graveyard for 3 mana that have a CMC 3 mana. So yeah, this could bring you back into a lot of games of Commander for sure.
Yeah, nice value. All right, next up, we've got Whirlwind of Thought. For 1 blue, red, and white, we've got an enchantment that says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. So, okay.
Full stop.
Just full stop right there.
All right, I'm going to keep drawing a card. I'm going to cast a spell, draw a card. I love it. I love drawing cards.
This card is actually so nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm looking at a Jeskai Ascendancy right now, and it's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap those creatures. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. If you do discard a card, and this is just straight up I'm just gonna keep getting to draw cards, no discard, just total card advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card is kind of nuts.
I love it.
Yeah. I wish I had it for our Commander League.
Man, if only I could go back in time, I tell you. I would have made some different decisions, that's for sure. Next up, we have Yorion Sky Nomad. It's 3 and 2 hybrid white-blue mana for a legendary creature, Bird Serpent. 4/5 with Companion. Your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck size, so you can't really play this in Commander. And flying, when Yorion enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step.
So saying about not playing in Commander, I'm going to slot this into my Blink deck because it's another Blink effect that hits every permanent.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Oh, yeah. That's so much value for, well, yeah, there's not a ton of deck building cost, but you can adjust for that by having an 80-card deck versus having a 60-card deck. Like, you can still have most of the same consistency, I would think.
Yeah, it's not too much of one if you're going to do the constructed way to get the Companion.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, I kind of want to try playing this in Standard just because I think it's a fun card. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Oh, if Riley's in, we should probably do it.
Yeah, we're in then. All right, next up we have Zirda, the Dawn Waker. So it's 1 of anything and then 2 Boros mana, so red or white. It is a 3/3 elemental fox. This card looks gorgeous, by the way.
Very, beautiful art. And I don't think we've really been talking about the art too much, but like the Seb McKinnon, Mythos art cards.
Oh yeah, I actually really like those.
Oh, the cave paintings.
Yeah, amazing. So he's just that guy.
Like there's some in there with like handprints and like they're actual handprints. Like he did some of his work on like this grainy. I don't even know how he described it, but basically like this textured background. It did like actual like hand paintings like with his hands, and then
so like talking about like Mythos of Brokos.
Yeah, and then he edited it in Photoshop for the rest of it.
Well, I hope he doesn't ever commit any crimes where he doesn't wear gloves because they're going to be able to go back to those paintings and get his prints.
I don't think he specified that he used his hands, though. Who knows? He might have used
he might have used
hands.
severed hands of a homeless person, maybe, because that's what he gets off on. I'm not saying I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying, be careful out there, everybody.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but Zirda's pretty spicy.
Yeah. So anyways, Zirda is a 3/3 elemental fox with Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability. And then abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. And then you can pay 1 and tap it to target creature can't block this turn.
Yeah, which is pretty meh. I mean,
it's definitely the
first
abilities costing less.
Yeah, you get some...
It's like a training grounds on a creature.
Pretty serious combos with that, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that it's in these colors because Training Grounds is blue, and then we also had the one from Ravnica.
Biomancer's Familiar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, that was green blue, so it's cool that white gets...
It's nice to see that they're throwing some bones to Boros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just have to run Heartstone, which is a symmetrical effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but this looks really fun to build around as a companion. I like the idea of every permanent card having an activated ability.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like having access to that outside of the game is nice because, I mean, no matter how much you mulligan, you're always going to have access to it.
Yeah. No, that is...
for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing about partner commanders, which I always try to remember, even though I've never built a deck with partner commanders, is essentially you have your starting hand, you have 9 cards instead of 8 cards. Right, and with Companion, you're sort of doing like a pseudo partner commander thing where you just have that extra card in your hand. So, you do have that card advantage.
Yeah,
for sure. Of course, I mean, there's a couple hoops you got to jump through, but I mean, who doesn't like having activated abilities on their cards?
It's usually a good thing.
I don't want to know them, whoever they are.
All right. Next up, we've got a land. It's Bonder's Enclave. You can tap to add colorless, or you can pay 3 and tap to draw a card and activate this ability only if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
I was
a little downside to.
Yeah, I was thinking about even putting this into maybe like 1 or 2 copies into Mono Green Stompy and Pioneer. Just because late game, right? Not even late game, you're getting so much mana. That deck is so mana hungry and you always have a creature with power 4 or greater, and you're just like drawing a card. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, I mean it's little downside. Of course, in Mono Green Stompy, you're probably caring a little bit about your color pips. So obviously not slamming 4 copies necessarily, but
no.
Like if you compare this to what was a colorless land that came out of Ixalan, the one that let you draw a card for 5 mana and tap it?
Arch of Orazca.
Yeah. So I mean, Arch of Orazca saw play.
Oh, I think this will see tons of play in Commander. Yeah, there's just so many decks where you late game, Commander's the format where it's just big mana spells. And, as a result, if you can't cast a big mana spell, you have access to all that mana. So you're like, all right, I have a creature with power 4 or greater. I'm just going to draw a card.
And then I was even thinking maybe even a one of in Tron for Modern.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always tough to cut basics. I think I run 4 or 5 basic forests, but with Karn the Great Creator, I run a Buried Ruin so I can get back sideboarded artifacts. So I totally agree that you're going to draw cards off of this if you do a one of in Tron, but it's always tough to decide what to cut. What lands to cut? It's almost those lands. Those the lands that aren't the Tron lands. It's almost like you're dealing with a commander mana base because you're like, I can only have one of.
Yeah, and I still haven't. I'm not doing the whole Karn Great Creator thing, so I'm just regular. And so I do have a Ghost Quarter in the deck, and it's like maybe I'd slot this in instead of having that Ghost Quarter in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I run a Ghost Quarter, so yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just to give it a try.
Yeah. Give it a try.
Either way, this card is just solid across several formats. Yeah. So next up, we have the Crystal Cycle of cards. So they're in each wedge. So we've got the Abzan wedge. We've got the Temur wedge. We've got the Jeskai wedge. We've got the Mardu wedge, and we've got the Sultai wedge. And they all cost 3 mana for an artifact that taps for one of their colors, respectively. So they're just like the banners from Cons, the Cons block, but they cycle for 2 mana. So if you're running the Cons banners, just swap these out or add them if you want to double up, because these are just better, just like Wilt or Migration Path.
Yeah. Do you think so? You can kind of look at it both ways. I think I do like cycling better than them already having to be on the battlefield to essentially cycle them away. Mm-hmm. But do you think that's the case? Do you think that's overall stronger?
I think having more modality is probably by and large having more choice gives you more flexibility. And I guess if the question is that more powerful? It depends on context. But I think, too, I'm not sure where these go because I'm not sure where the banners go. I think they are good budget options. But I think, even with the reprinting of Arcane Signet in the new Commander decks, that's going to drop the price. I guess it probably won't be a budget card, but I don't even think that the banners, I would even run the banners, but I might run these in a commander deck. But I think the flexibility makes them better cards, but that doesn't necessarily have to mean that they're more powerful. So yeah, I guess the answer is it depends.
Yeah, like I mean, for sure. Like in the late game, I think I'd much rather draw one of these crystals than drawing one of the banners, because the banners require a lot more mana investment to be able to effectively cycle them. Whereas this is just 2 mana, you draw another card, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I like the crystals a little bit better than the banners, but at the end of the day, I mean, they still are a 3 mana rock, which is not always the best, but you know, if you're in a budget, this is probably a good option.
If you're in a budget, or if you just want that kind of redundancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, next up we've got Farfinder, which is for 3 generic mana. You get a box. It's a 1/1 with Vigilance, and it says, when Farfinder enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And notably, this is not an artifact. It's just a fox.
Yeah, and there's a couple of these in the set where they're just colorless creatures.
Yeah.
So
I think this is gonna play great in limited. This limited format seems very color intensive. So being able to fix for your mana is going to be really critical. And the fact that it's a fox, it's a non-human, and has vigilance. So if you're mutating, you might want to mutate onto this just to give whatever you're mutating vigilance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is a great mutate target. And, I'm thinking about this for Commander. It's obviously not ramp because the land goes to your hand, but in combination with cards like Walking Atlas or Terrain Generator, it could be land-based ramp. So this gives colors that can't tutor for lands, other than using cards like Wayfarer's Bauble, an easy way to do that, which, I'm always looking for.
I mean, there's like Skittering Surveyor and Pilgrim's Eye as well that do a similar thing.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of Wayfarer's Bauble as one of the only ones that actually puts the land on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one, because there's like Traveler's Amulet, and all those cards would work together well in combination with Walking Atlas and Terrain Generator, which put lands onto the battlefields. Well, does Walking Atlas put basics? I know Terrain Generator only puts basics. Let's look up Walking Atlas.
I think Walking Atlas puts it onto the battlefield.
It is put it. I was just checking if it puts a basic or it's a land card, but Walking Atlas is a land card, so it can be anything. Terrain Generator's more restrictive in that it has to be a basic land.
Yeah.
But either way,
At least Farfinder is basically replacing itself, right? It's kind of like a draw card effect. I mean, you're getting a land, but it is a card, so it's not nothing.
Yep, absolutely. Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Next up, we have the Ozolith. It is 1 mana for a legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat of your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. This, cards that have this kind of flexibility, like this kind of raw power, always get me excited.
Oh, for sure. And this is only 1 mana.
I know,
as well,
it's
so
nuts.
It's super cheap. Yeah, and like with all the different counters we have going around, you'll be able to do some probably neat shenanigans. And then if you have some sort of like counter style deck, just slot this guy in there because you're like saving up the power from your creatures that died and giving it to something else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think that's easily one of the downsides for a counters matters decks is that, like, if the creature dies, you've lost all those counters. So this is just a way to hold on to them for later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And because this is 1 mana, you can tinker for it.
Ooh.
Boy.
You can't tinker in Commander, though.
Trinket Mage.
Tinker Mage.
Tinker Mage.
Okay. No.
So then I guess like the last thing we have is going to be lands, and there is a cycle of the wedges again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Tricycle
these lands, yeah. So, I guess I'll say all the colors. There's the white, black, green, green, blue, red, and then red or blue, red, white, red, white, black, and black, green, blue. All these lands enter the battlefield tapped. They all have the land types on them, so you can fetch for them.
Yeah.
And
they cycle for 3 mana.
Yeah, so just like the Amonkhet allied cycling lands, I think the fact that these are playable in Commander because you can fetch them. If they didn't enter the battlefield tapped, or they didn't have the basic land types, I don't think they would be playable. Like if they didn't have one or the other. So yeah, I think that the fact that they're fetchable means that they're going to see play in Commander. But besides Standard, do you guys think these are going to see play anywhere else?
No,
probably not.
Yeah, because even in Modern, when you go and fetch, you don't want the land coming into the battlefield tapped. Even if you just did like a one of in certain decks with the right color combination, you're doing that to cast a spell. I think in Commander, even, I've thought about putting them in the decks that they would work in, the decks that have the right colors. And even a deck like Sliver Overlord, I'm a little hesitant to put them in because a lot of times when I do like a Sky Shroud Claim or a Nature's Lore, I want to use that land. Even if it's a shock land, and it usually is, I'll take the damage and I'll use the mana right then and there to advance my game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can still see this in like a lot of like tricolor decks. It'll be the colors you're looking for, and it's like again the cycling. If you draw the card late, you can just get rid of it.
Absolutely, that's another thing that makes them so playable. But like turn one, you go and you play a fetch, and you go and fetch this. Turn two, you have 2 lands and access to all your colors in a tricolor commander deck. You're not sweating it.
No, not at all.
The only thing that, it's... I like when they do this. I like when Wizards, releases these new land cycles. But I would just love it if they would finish a land cycle before they release new ones. It's like, hey, these are cool. Maybe put them in their respective commander decks that you're also releasing at the same time. Or, hey, just a thought, maybe finish the Battle Bond land cycle and put them in the commander decks that you're releasing with the decks, or reprint the Battle Bond allied lands that you had in Battle Bond in these commander decks,
or finish the other half of the cycle of the Amonkhet lands. Like I felt like that would have been an appropriate space as well.
Absolutely, totally.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh, we're being really color intensive. There's a lot of tricolor stuff. Let's make these new ones.
Yeah, but whatever. Yeah. I mean, I guess one day we'll see the other half of the bicycle lands.
Yeah, and somebody that wrote, that made the mistake of writing 2 episodes of Roseanne all those years ago can't be expected to make, sound decisions. So this is what we're left with.
Oh, jeez.
And last but certainly not least, how about the art on the basic lands from this set?
Oh, I love
them. I'm actually like super into these arts on the basic lands for this set.
They're beautiful.
The alternate art, like the comic book style art.
Oh, so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
At first I was a little off put because it's like, it's not really magic art. It's never been like that comic book style. But then like taking it as its own thing, like it still looks super, super cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I think that's important is like each artist brings their own little style to the table. And I mean, one of the reasons I love Seb McKinnon so much is he always does something different than what you would normally expect out of magic art, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there's a certain type of consistency with magic art, and Seb always has his own unique style that he brings to the table. And I love that comic book style. It's very bright and colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these islands I really adore, and I'm going to be wanting to get foils of them right away.
Well, don't get them too soon because they might cost 99 cents. You want to wait until they're about 49 cents.
Yeah, that's the time.
Yeah, with all the collector's boosters and all that, and it's I think we were talking about this over chat, but it's going to be so interesting to see the paper prices of this set because who's
because everything's happening right
who's
now.
going to be going to game stores and trading in their cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty limited.
Yeah, no one's going to be doing that either.
But
All right, folks. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode. And please let us know if we missed any cards that you think would make an impact in any format. We only had about 2 hours. So we had to talk about very, very few cards overall. But we'd also like to thank our lovely editor, Ainsley, for her behind-the-scenes work that she does each and every week. You can find me at Command Beacon on Instagram. And Riley, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Twitter at Riles Dayton, or you can find me on Instagram at Riley_Dayton.
Eric is still working on his social media presence. And before you hop to the next episode, please check out all the links in the show notes.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening in these trying times.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Turn one soul ring.
So I built this little sound booth. Yeah, and I've got a blanket over top as well. It's like a little sauna in here.
Oh, you get a little hot?
It's a little warm. My cat is trying to get into my sound booth.
Oh, she's a sweetheart, though. You should let her in.
Yeah, she wants to sit on my lap.
Aber's been like crawling all over my desk, and he's just like, "I love you." Oh, kitty.